Notice, in accordance with new copper regulations, this episode of Quoth Raven is intended for ages 16 and up. While some of the content we will feature is kid-friendly, the context of the episode is to address adults and inform them of said content to research as consumers in service of their youth. In other words, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, librarians, etc. There is a possibility of adult language present on the episode as well. Rated TV 16 and up. Welcome again, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Quoth Raven. Louis Bright Raven, I'm your host, Louis Bright Raven, 29-year veteran of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games as a writer, artist, and editor. Tonight is our Thursday night roundtable, and my guests this evening are Eisner Award nominee, artist, and writer-creator David Hahn and writer-illustrator Benjamin Morse. We're going to be talking about their projects. With David, we got two projects, one with Carl Kiesel, Impossible Jones 2, and Impossible Jones and Holly Days, one shot. And with Ben, we'll be talking about his series, We Are Scarlet Twilight. And we're also talking about another series with David called The Dusk. And let's get them balls in here. Oops, let's see if we can get it. There we go.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Doing all right.
All right, we're going to go kind of quickly into this stuff because we know that the Impossible Jones piece, the Kickstarter for that, ends very quickly tonight.
Yeah, ends in just an hour or so, and I think we're just shy of 1,000 backers at this point, although we have met our goal.
You're at 998 backers with 115 minutes to go, according to
okay.
But I'll show everybody that in just a moment.
Okay.
But I want to do a quick review of what this is. Impossible 2, Impossible Jones and Holidays Team Up One Shot. Publisher is Panic Button Press. Writer is Carl Kiesel. Artist is David Hahn with colorist Tony Avenia. Superhero, supervillain hijinks. Is that an accurate description of the genre, David?
Yeah, we call it grin and gritty as well.
Okay, grin and gritty. Okay.
Yeah.
Currently funding at Kickstarter. I said we were trying to figure out how much time we had left. We figured about an hour to go. There is a link on the YouTube page that takes you to that page, and I will also post a link to that Kickstarter if I can here. Should be let's see if I can get to post. That should be it. But what it's about is a thief who is pretending to be a superhero, Impossible Jones, teams up with a former hero turned criminal, Holly Days, in a madcap one-shot adventure. This is the first of 4 different Impossible Jones one-shot team-up stories leading into the next Impossible Jones graphic novel. Is that correct?
That sounds right.
Okay, I want to make sure I had it right.
No, yeah.
And this is a couple of the pages. We'll go ahead and I'm going to hide that for just a little bit more so we can see some of this. Now, some of the story pages are a little bit out of sequence here. I think there was a page missing because there was a spoiler.
Yes. Yeah, we did not post that one.
Okay. So I did the best I could from that.
No,
they're at
I love these pages.
A cosplay bar.
Yes. Carl came up with the idea of a cosplay bar. Because it was a good place that heroes could go and mingle and be in their costume and not necessarily be hassled or be recognized. It's easier to blend in.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cute.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, again, another thing where apparently she picked the pocket of the other guy.
Yeah. She uses her abilities to generate extra appendages and picks this guy's pocket.
Yeah. And of course, they find something that they probably didn't like and decide, well, we're going to take care of that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now, for those of you who, whoops, there we go. who aren't familiar with the Impossible Jones series, is the first book still available?
Yes, it is still available. I know that we printed plenty.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Because I did back the first one, of course.
Thank you.
And got that. And I should have had it with me, and it's over and back in the bookcase.
I believe you.
Well, I could go get it. But well, Carl knows I have it because when I'm on the show. But yeah, I've been trying to figure out why he was like, there's so much more to do. He said between the first and the second book. Is it just because the second book is so much many more pages? It's going to take a while to do it. So you decided to do 4 more books in between.
Well, I think the original idea that was brewing for the second book was more like a proper sequel or a movie version of the of continuing the story of the first series.
Okay.
And Carl decided that he wasn't. We started to move in that direction, and he decided he wasn't quite ready for that. He wanted to flesh out the individual characters, tell more smaller level type of stories that would bring more of the characters and supporting characters into focus before jumping into something bigger. And I agree with him 100% with that, because I like the kind of a intimate nature of telling those kinds of stories. I don't want to. I've never been a fan of the stakes are so high in the first story or the first movie where you got to save the world, and where do you go from there? And this is one where, because these characters are very, many of whom have been with him since childhood, have been rattling around in Carl's brain for decades, that he has stories he wants to tell with them. And I think that this is a good move, and more of a fun move, because we're taking smaller, more important steps, I guess is the best way to put it, in telling more individual stories.
I think you're building a stronger foundation for the universe,
Right?
basically, and that makes sense. Carl kind of put it that way when he was explaining the Kickstarter, but he was also, I don't know. He did it. When he was explaining it, it was 4:00 in the morning when he did the video.
Oh.
Yeah, as he put on the video. I made this at 4:00. I got with it because my kids are here all the time now. Thanks, COVID. Pop Culture Avenger, one of our regular viewers, says hello to everyone.
Hello.
Hey.
And again, Pop Culture, that is the Kickstarter for the Impossible Jones and Holly Days team up that we're talking about at the moment. And this one ends in about an hour to an hour and a half, maybe. So if you haven't checked that out, please either type it out off the screen, or there is a link down below on the YouTube page for Quoth the Raven on this channel for this episode, that you can link to it and check that out. And it has already been funded, so the book is guaranteed. And there's an extra special bonus that we'll talk about in just a moment. You do the Even Steven story. That's going to be the extra story as well.
Right. Yes, we met that goal, and that's apparently Even Steven is such a weirdo character. I think he's great, but apparently he really was the breakout supporting character from our first series that people want to see more of. We thought it would be Holly Days, but it turns out it's Even Steven, and I'm excited about that. He's a fun character to draw.
Well, he's kind of like this. He reminds me of Mr. A from Steve Ditko, but he also reminds me of the In-Betweener.
Right.
And obviously he everything has to be balanced with him.
Right.
So it's like it's just got an interesting dichotomy with that character that we don't see something like that.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's why he's, people want to see that because it's something they haven't seen before. Whereas Holly Days, well, we've kind of seen the girl in the holiday festival.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And she's there to be she's there as the marker to say, Impossible Jones is not the Harley Quinn character.
Mhm.
That's me. That's kind of one of Holly Days' purposes in the story. But yeah. Even Steven, it's just so funny because I think of Carl coming up with these ideas and these stories because he's much more versed, and he's way older than I am. He's old. He's ancient. So he's always making these references to things he read when he was a kid, and Silver Age comics. And I didn't start reading comics until I was in my 20s. I mean, I read a few things when I was a kid that I was into, like I was into Star Wars, so I would read the Star Wars comic, but I wasn't necessarily a comics kid. It wasn't until I was in late teens, early 20s that I realized how cool comics were and that they were more than just superhero stuff. And that's when I really got into them, all kinds of comics, superhero, manga, horror, everything. But so a lot of people make, references to Silver Age characters and the classic this and that team up and such, and it's kind of lost on me a bit because it wasn't in my DNA from the very beginning like it is with so many other people. So he comes up with these great ideas and these great characters, and he says, this is kind of it made me think, what if so and so did this, but instead of doing this, he did this. And he comes up with an idea that we'll use for a character, and I'm like, that sounds great. I'm not 100% sure, I believe you, I trust you, but the Even Steven thing, it's like, I had not seen anything like it, like his idea of this character that has to be exactly yin and yang. Everything has to be balanced in a fight in particular, because Even Steven believes that good will always triumph over evil in a fair fight. That's what he believes, is that in a fair fight, good will always win. So he believes himself to be good, as far as I know. So every fight he's in, he equally matches his opponent, because he believes that he will triumph if everything is equally matched. And I just think that is just cool. That's just one of so many things Carl's come up with that I just think, wow, you really do a lot of thinking when you're walking your dog. Yeah.
Now Ben's done something with the Dusk, right? An art piece for the Dusk.
Yeah.
Did
you? Oh, that fantastic! Yeah, we were talking about that before. I'm kind of out of the loop on a lot of that. Alex will send me stuff and say, "Here's the newest one," and I'm blown away. So I'm glad to hear it, because Ben, your stuff is boss.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was
awesome too. I've been looking over it. They did an Impossible Jones pinup too, and awesome stuff, man.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I didn't want you to feel like we're leaving you out in the
Yeah, I know.
I feel bad because you're sitting there in the bottom.
No,
and your room is so dark.
Cool.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but I mean, do you have a question or comments about Impossible Jones that you want to talk to David about?
Oh, not off the top of my head. Other than that, I like it, and it was fun to draw. To really go through, all your different views of her. Because I think you've had a little more. You've drawn a lot more of her than maybe the Dusk.
Yes,
and it was really cool to see that, because it's like trying to get the costume just right and all that. It's really cool stuff, and I really like all the other superheroes, of course.
Oh, thank you.
Turn up there.
Do you ever? I'm gonna ask you, Ben. Do you ever like work on something, and you work on it for a long time, and then you hit your rhythm, or you hit your stride, where you feel good, and then you go back and look at the earlier stuff, say it's a given character, and you can see, oh wow, that looks kind of rough, or I hadn't quite figured it out, even though I thought I had. Then you see a point where all of a sudden it kind of fell into place. Yeah.
In fact, the first page I did of We Are Scarlet Twilight, I thought was cool at the time. It still looks like a nice drawing. I don't, want to throw it out the window, but I hadn't quite figured out how to draw the guy yet. And and it's it's not like this big original costume necessarily. It's pretty, Golden Age inspired stuff. So certainly not reinventing the wheel visually. But yeah, even with something as simple as that, it takes a few pages at the very least to be like, yeah, that one's kind of what I want to do, if possible, the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Costume design is always a bear because everybody thinks of it drawing straightforward, but then you have to realize that we're drawing it from different camera angles. What does it look like from the side, from 3/4 angles, from behind, and how does it look like from over our heads and worm eye view and all that stuff?
What does Batman's cowl look like when you're seeing it from this angle? The worst.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people don't think that way as a rule, and unless you train your brain to think like that, and even most comic artists aren't trained to think like that. You just don't think that way until we actually are forced to.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember when I was going to Central Michigan and I started doing it, I had to basically form my own sequential art studies program as a specialized group. And I had to contact the Kubert School to see if I could get some semblance of their program and, get it over with at my school. And that was some of the stuff that you had to do, was do all the turnarounds of the characters and figure out different things. And I was like, okay, this is cool, and here I am trying to do a superhero team book. So now I've got like all these characters to figure out how to bring, and to pass the way what Joe wants to do, and it's like, yeah, that's a lot of work. That's what you got to do. And once you mastered that, it makes the job so much easier later on.
Right.
And whereas people just think, well, no, you just design it, and it's like, no,
there's heavy lifting involved.
It's never done. Yeah. There's always some angle. It's like, oh wait, I've never drawn him from this angle before. What the heck would it look like from here?
Yeah.
Well, this is
never
why,
stops.
This is why, as an editor, I get these kids who draw Batman, and it's like they can't keep his utility belt on model. He'll have like 3 pouches on one side and 4 on the other side, or it's 2 and 5, or and they're all different sizes and shapes, from panel to panel and page to page, and you're just like, and you try to explain this to them, and it's like, come on, or they can't draw the bat symbol on the chest the same size, the same proportions.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one thing that I always think.
And I know you having drawn Batman 66, you know how much of a pain in the butt this can be.
Yes, I learned early on. I believe it was Matt Haley who told me about the importance of getting the logo right on these characters, especially if it's a big 2 character, because that's heavily branded stuff that everyone recognizes across the world. And I remember him, saying, if you're going to draw Superman, you got to get whatever the current Superman logo, got to get that shield looking perfect every time. He said that's what people are going to look at. And so when it came to Batman 66, and I kind of had to look at the 66 version costume, and it kind of, I hate that. It looks too small and wimpy. It doesn't look as well balanced as the cool. I always like the Jim Aparo era Batman logo was always like, that's it right there. So I kind of pushed it that direction a little bit. But it's got to, that if anything's got to be on model. And I've always kind of been a slave to trying to stay on model with my own stuff, because I tend to really look at be influenced by artists that are the really clean and slightly stylized artists. And as my career and my experience in drawing has gone on over the years, I've stripped out more and more out of my art, to the point where, I'm putting down less lines, but the ones I do put down have to be better at conveying what they need to convey. And in doing so, I sort of painted myself into a mental corner of thinking, no, I got to be like an animator and make sure that the head looks consistent this way and this way, and then in another panel, if he's looking this way or she's looking this way, it's got to be consistent as well, to the point where it would sometimes suck the joy out of drawing, because I'd be so obsessed with making sure that it looked consistent. But I would get kind of anal about making sure to keep the right number of belt loops consistent on the pants and that kind of thing, depending on deadline, of course.
Right. Well, my thing is as an inker, if the penciler screws it up, it's my job to make sure it's right anyway. I just make the correction, make it right. But then if these days, oh my God, if you do that, I already changed it. It's like, it's like,
I learned not to be precious about it. It's like, when I trust my inker.
Oh my God. I'm like, guys, you don't get it. You are the preliminary illustrator. I do the finished art.
Right.
Just because everybody makes you the prima donna star doesn't mean you're the head guy. It's a team book, but But anyway, it's fun though. I mean, because I guess what I was getting at was a lot of these kids just don't seem to understand these basics today. And they're too caught up in trying to do style. What style is hot right now? What style is the editor gonna pick up on and hire me for, rather than learning what is necessary to become an exceptional artist. There's a reason why you have as much work as you do, and you've worked as long as you have consistently.
Right. You got to learn how to draw telephones and TV sets and chairs and tables as well, as well as monsters and spaceships.
What's a telephone? You mean I know how to do a telephone right here.
Corded phone, doing some retro piece with a corded telephone.
A corded? What's a corded?
What
are you talking about? Yeah. I mean, seriously, these guys wouldn't know what that is, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and take a look at the actual Kickstarter for Impossible 2.
Okay.
And we got 95 minutes to go according to this. Let me refresh it, make sure that's correct. Yep. We're one backer short.
Ooh, look at that. We jumped one. Come on, somebody. just for my own light version of OCD, let's make that a nice even 1,000.
Yeah.
That would be quite an accomplishment if it was a nice even 1,000.
Yeah. We've already explained what it is, so I don't think we necessarily need to hear Carl's video, do we?
No, we're fine. We're fine.
But
a villain that is mistaken for a superhero and realizes that being mistaken for a superhero allows her access to commit crimes.
Yep. You got spot gloss on your cover already. We've got Steven's solo story, which has actually been extended because of that.
Yes.
So 6 pages instead of 4. We got a fight poster. What is the commentary going to be?
I don't know. That was kind of something that Carl had suggested at an 11th hour that I thought, let's do that. That sounds great. That'll be fun. So I'm not quite sure what we're in for with that, and I hope people like it, and it's not just me and Carl fawning over our hard work over each other.
Well, what I mean is that going to be like a video, or are you guys going to do it as a written back section in the book? Or?
No, I think it's going to be an actual voice. I think it's going to be our voices, but don't hold me to that because I'm not 100% sure. But that was the impression I had, that it's going to be a video of us, or at least a voiceover of us as we go through the pages.
Okay.
As opposed to something that is printed, in the material. I do not believe that's what it is.
Okay.
This thing is moving so fast that I can't keep up with giving you accurate information, so I apologize.
That's fine.
Okay.
Let's see. We got extra covers.
Yep. Yeah, Jeff Smith. Look at that.
We got one by Jeff Smith, and that was the one that I guess his kids Carl's kid said that made him cool.
Yeah. It earned him cred.
Yeah. And then, of course, legendary DC artist and Marvel artist Dan Jurgens.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually the one I got was the Dan Jurgens cover.
Yeah, because that's the only time I think it'll be seen according to our plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, good call.
And then this is the regular cover.
Yep. The Batman and Robin homage.
Yes, after Infantino.
Mm-hmm. I hope they got that after Infantino in there.
Oh, yeah, it's there.
Okay. All right.
Or at least it is in that image.
Okay.
But yeah, Impossible Nights and Days.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen Holly Days yet that I can remember. Well, she wasn't in the first book that much, was she?
She was in the beginning of the first book, and then we had a holiday short story special at the end of the book that she was also in.
Okay, because I'm waiting to see all the gimmicks she's going to come up with.
I think that's the one I read, which was cool.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see, and then you got this. How big is this poster going to be?
I'm not sure. I am not sure. I don't know how big it's going to be.
It says a full-sized poster.
Full-sized, yeah.
Full size. Well, it's full. Okay. Well, then I want it as big as a movie poster.
Okay, that'd be like a 24 by 30.
That'd be a big. Yeah. I am not exactly sure how big it is. I know that Carl told me, but
6, but yeah. But if it's a movie-sized poster, it's like 24 by 36.
Okay.
See, because when I see full-size poster, I think of just normal comic page size.
Right. Yeah. No, it can't be like that. I don't want it to be like poster you get out of Honeycomb cereal when you're a kid and it says poster and you pull it out. It's this little thing. Remember those?
Pop Culture says, I just backed it. Maybe I'm number 1,000. Or maybe let's see.
Let's see.
Yeah, we're at 1,000.
Oh,
we missed it.
Now we're at 101. That's when the gas pump goes over.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
90 minutes to go.
Well, actually, check your email, Pop. You check your email. It'll tell you what number backer you are, probably.
Oh. And thank you.
I'm pretty sure it'll tell you which backer number you are, because I forgot what backer I am now. But I backed it a while ago, but I tend to back anything Carl works on.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I started backing him back when he brought back Section 0 with Tom Grummett.
Tom Grummett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he got the ash can too.
Ash can, that's a term I haven't heard in a long time.
I was just going to say that.
But yeah. And we get digital. Who did you do the art for the chibi?
No, I did not. But I think that is so cool.
Okay. Yeah, I just wondered.
Yeah,
it's a different art style, but that's that's one of my kind of.
I wish.
That's always been one of my pet peeves. We all have to do different art styles too. But that's a nice one too.
Yeah. Thank you, but yeah, I'm admiring it along with you because I think it is pretty cool.
Yeah. And then this is the Impossible Dusk poster.
Yes. And
this is another promotion that we'll definitely be talking about. Now, Pop Avenger, pay attention. You've already backed this one. If you back the Dusk, which we'll talk about in just a little bit as well, then what you have to do is you say Impossible Dusk on both of the pages on the Kickstarters, and you also get this poster with it.
You get this poster that I drew 2 days ago. And still, that's how fresh that is to me. Yeah.
Did you color it too, or did
I colored it too. There wasn't. We wanted to get it in plenty of time before the end of the Impossible Jones Kickstarter, and so I inked it, colored it, the whole thing, and then Carl laid that out like that.
Cool.
Thank you.
Very cool. So if you like all these characters,
yeah, if you like Harley Quinn and Superboy and the
66,
and who's that down there, Buffy, and if you like Impossible Jones, then you'll love Impossible Jones.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. Well, I know why he crossed it out, but because they probably do have some sort of.
We did. That was a conscious choice from the very beginning, as part of the weirdness of her character, that we knew that we were going to do all that kind of censoring out of bad words. I wish she could still curse, because it just never sounds right if they say substitute curse words. But doing that has a bit more whimsy, and the way Star Kings did the lettering on a lot of her stuff, having it be angular, it really brought a lot to the product and to the character that I think is cool. That is one of those things where I leave it to the professionals to come up. I draw the stuff, and then I leave it to the professionals to color, to make it look good, and to letter it and bring their talents to the project. And I'm always just so impressed when I see what good work a lot of these professionals do, and how they really add to what we do.
I keep looking at this candy cane claws here, or candy cane spikes, or whatever.
Yeah, said make it like Wolverine.
Well, no, I kind of, is it like Wolverine, or is it like long shot? She could throw them and like.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, no, I was thinking of Wolverine, and then I was thinking, well, how did she get? Did she like suck down the tips of the, to get the candy cane to get a nice sharp point? But then I thought, no, then they'd be white at the end, and then I realized I am just thinking way too much about this. So here it is, as is.
They're still spikes. They're just candy.
Okay, all right, I'll go with that.
They're still spikes, pale like candy canes. That's all. That way you can throw them and they stick in somebody. Yeah. I'm being too serious, probably, but
no, it's all fun.
Yeah, but again, these are the same pages I showed a little bit earlier. Krampus is an actual historical holiday character.
Yes.
In traditional mythology, but you're doing your own version of it.
Right, and that is one of our initial sketches. That is not a finished drawing. That was when we were trying to work out how he would look. And Carl and he gave me the idea, and I took it one direction, and he pulled me back in a different direction, which I was happy with. And then we ended up with a guy that's going to kind of look like this.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm making him scary enough. I think Carl wants me to do him scarier, like a Dr. Doom, but creepier. And so I'm still kind of finding, like we're talking, Ben, earlier, about finding your stride about what works. Thank you, Pop Culture Avenger, about what works and what, still is not quite fully baked.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a really cool thing, and we've got you past 1,000, and we got you at least one more person who's bought it.
Yeah,
and that's what matters. I probably would have bought more, but I'm kind of strapped for cash, and I had to make sure I bought Dusk and also Ben's.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
But he goes, I enjoyed the Krampus movie, though. It could have been much better. I think I know what he's talking about, but
see, I can't. There was one that I saw this past holiday season. I don't know if it's the Krampus movie, but I remember it was a Swedish or Finnish movie. It was a holiday movie where Krampus they discover him locked in a block of ice somewhere in Norway, I believe, or Finland.
Is
And
that Rare Exports or something like that?
was it? Maybe, I can't remember. All I remember was a foreign language, and it was a kind of a tongue-in-cheek scary movie, and it was a lot of fun. And it had like a lot of his elves were like zombies, so there were hordes of zombie elves. That's what I remember. I don't know if that's the same as I don't think it's the same Krampus movies that Pop Culture Avenger's talking about.
Okay, you know, it's a movie. My wife had seen it. It was on. I think they made like a short and a longer version. She's like, "This is really good, but the film's no good." So we end up not watching it. But if it is the same thing, it's supposed to be great.
Yeah, could be Rare Exports. Could be the same one.
Okay, we're going to quickly run on to his other Kickstarter since they're tied together. And then
yes.
Whoops, wrong screen. Sorry. I don't know why it did that. Whoops. There we go. Share the proper screen, you silly machine. There we go. There we go. Dusk is by publisher Ominous Press. Writers are Alex Segura and Elizabeth Little. Artist again is David Hahn. Colors by Ellie Wright. Letters by Taylor Esposito. Editor is Joseph Illage. I call it postmodern pulp superhero.
That works.
Currently funding on Kickstarter. It has 2 weeks to go, 13 days. And what it's about, it's a modern reimagining of the superhero vigilante that flips the script on traditional right makes right approach while adding the grounded, socially conscious perspective that modern crime fiction has become known for. Think Batman the Animated Series with moral complexity and dark humor, with an engaging, kind of younger, I don't know, he's not really Daredevil. He is an attorney, though.
Right.
Is he Hispanic? I can't remember.
Yes. Okay. Jaime Nunez. He's a former baseball player. I believe he's a Cuban ancestry, and he is a single parent raising a teenage daughter.
Right. That's what I was trying to get at. There are elements here that are more socially, not so much what gets slandered towards as SJW, but more well-rounded in cultural weakness,
right?
The standard material that we're seeing, while still being fondly reminiscent of the classic Batman animated series type material.
Right.
That's what I was trying to say. There we go. And there's some of the artwork for that. I hope I got these in the right page order.
Yeah, that looks correct. I think we only have 4 pages here.
Yeah.
And one of the things, yes, he is an attorney, but he's a defense attorney. So one of the things that Alex and Elizabeth are working into the story is the idea that he engages these criminals at night and brings them to justice, but then he ends up, unbeknownst to them, also being their public defender in many cases, so that they do get a fair trial, and that they do have an opportunity as best he can do to see that they're just not thrown in jail, that there is ways that these people, these criminals that are like victims of society more so than just sociopathic monsters, have a way to course correct their life, and that he's on that end of dealing with them as well, being, at least as far as attorney.
Right, which is different than what Batman is, because Batman is more of a hard case. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Whereas, it's like, what if you took Harvey Dent without being Two-Face as a public defendant and made him Batman?
There you go. Yeah. So that's the direction, and I'm still waiting to see how this all comes into focus myself,
really
because I'm the
because
guy that draws it. But
yeah, but that's very interesting because there are things that he's going to come to realize as a defense attorney that as a vigilante, when he does certain things, he kind of breaks the rules and gives them outs,
right.
And stuff like that too. So it'll be interesting to see what the writers come up with, like you say. So that's a cool idea. I hadn't, for some reason, I did not make the connection he was a defense attorney. I was thinking he was a regular attorney.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, he represent. These are his clients. Yeah.
That really is the twist, and that is the twist. That makes it interesting. Definitely glad I picked it up even more now.
No, thank you. And I think it's quite a coincidence that you have your guests have a comic book called The Dusk and Scarlet Twilight. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Almost interchangeable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
is that why we're both here?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
No, it was kind of odd that, and then of course, you actually did the pinup for him as well. I was just like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, I gotta go through the Dropbox folders and see your pinup now. Right.
Yeah, I think I got that done. God, this week's been such a blur. I think it was yesterday morning. Coming off the holiday and everything, it's been a pretty busy spring.
Yeah.
So it was either yesterday or the day before. I don't think I looked at it since.
Okay, let's go ahead and share that Kickstarter real quick. And that one, I think we will go ahead and run the video on real quick.
Segura here. I'm a comic book writer and novelist. I've written books like the Pete Fernandez Miami Mystery Series, comics like The Black Ghost and The Archies, and the recent Star Wars Poe Dameron Freefall novel. I'm here to talk to you about my first ever Kickstarter called The Dusk. It's an original graphic novel which consists of about 4 issues worth of story, and it's a unique take on the superhero genre, mixing 2 of the things that I write about. Crime fiction, which is great about putting a spotlight on our society and things that are going on, and the superheroes, playing off all those fun tropes and ideas. The Dusk is a story about family, fatherhood, legacy, and the responsibility that comes with that. My 5-year-old son loves superheroes. He loves the costumes, he loves the powers, he loves the adventure of those stories. But some of those stories are also very binary in how they solve their problems. Good guys punch bad guys, they throw them in jail, problem solved. I was talking to my wife and she suggested, wouldn't it be great if there was a superhero that looked at these things in a more thoughtful way? So you could hand it to a kid or a teenager and have them see this different approach. That was the original idea for The Dusk, and that's what really got me going. Before I introduce you to the team, I want to introduce you to Jaime Nunez, The Dusk. Jaime is a former baseball star from Miami, Cuban-American, that moves to the city of Blackstone to try and make a difference as a public defender. But even doing that, he finds there are limitations to what he can do to help people in the office and through the law. When he unexpectedly comes into a huge amount of money, he also gets the tools to make a huge difference under a new identity. I knew I wanted to collaborate with another writer on this story. I love the back and forth of ideas and really jamming on something with another person. Elizabeth Little's a friend of mine. She's a great novelist and crime writer, and she's also a comic book fan. And when I pitched her on the idea of The Dusk, she was all in.
Hi, I'm Liz Little. I'm the co-writer of The Dusk, something that still kind of takes me by surprise to hear out loud, to tell you the truth. I have a pretty sort of wide-ranging career. I've written best-selling mystery novels and book-length nonfiction and travel guides and all sorts of different things, but I've never done a comic book before. And when Alex came to me and asked me if I wanted to develop this superhero pitch with him, just
I do love how this is lighting up the logo.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
To play with all of these genre tropes that I love so much, the secret identity hijinks, the smartass sidekick, the charismatic rogues gallery, while still getting to explore these really messy gray area moral questions that inspire so much of the rest of my work. It was an irresistible opportunity. It gave me the chance to love the things I love and subvert the rest of it. And I really can't wait for you to read it. Assuming I don't mess it up, which honestly I still might.
The visual look of a comic book is so important. It's a visual medium, it's graphic storytelling. And when I was thinking about the look for the Dusk, I knew I wanted it to evoke something timeless. David Hahn has done so much great work, from Fight Club to Batman 66 meets Wonder Woman 77. And once I gave him the kind of big ideas of the Dusk, I knew he was the right person for this.
Hi, I'm David Hahn. I am penciler, inker, and co-creator of the Dusk. Alex and I had wanted to work together on something for quite some time, and then he came up with this idea for a create-your-own project, the Dusk. And when I realized it was about a superhero who, besides having a secret identity, is also trying to raise a teenage daughter pretty much on his own, I thought that was a neat take, and I really liked the direction that Alex had in mind for this. So I am excited to be on board with this and be part of it, and hopefully you will be as excited as I am. Thank you.
I've worked with Ellie Wright and Taylor Esposito a number of times. Ellie's colors are vibrant and she's so versatile, and Taylor is just a super pro when it comes to lettering, so it was a no-brainer to have them be part of this team. Joe Illidge is a veteran editor, writer, and creative consultant, and has worked on books like Batman. He's worked with companies like Lion Forge, Valiant, and now Heavy Metal. We've been friends for over a decade, and when we first talked about this project, he was very clear he wanted in.
When Alex asked me to be a part of the Dusk team, the really intriguing thing about it for me was being able to bring back my Batman roots. That character is really one of the most engaging characters of our society, but we have to think about, well, what is it like to seek out justice in the 21st century? What would be different about it for a man of color, someone whose regular life is in the courtroom trying to get justice through law, but when the legal system fails, he has to try to get justice in another way. It sounds easy. We're used to reading about these things in comic books, but the actuality of it, the brutality of it, really getting down to what that would be like. What can we take away from this that's different about our society in the present day? How far can we dig into the characters? What new things can we discover? What can the characters tell us? And being an editor and creative consultant on the Dusk, it's really important for me to be that guy for Alex and Elizabeth and David and Taylor, as we're all a team working on this together. How can I be a guide? How can I help do the work of the archaeology to really get into the characters and get into the story and find those things that are going to surprise all of us and really give us opportunities to do things that you haven't seen before in comics, and you haven't seen before in Batman.
A big question that comes whenever you ask for money or support is why Kickstarter? This is a really personal project for all of us. We're either parents, we're really strongly committed to family and the idea of creating stories that we can pass on to all ages. The Dusk is a personal tale that we're all really excited about. We've got some great covers and pinups from people like Francesco Francavilla, Rebecca Isaacs, Greg Smallwood, and so many more. Scroll through the art, take a look, explore the world of Blackstone, and see if you want to be a part of the Dusk. Huge thanks to our friends at Ominous Press who've made this possible, have done all the kind of thankless legwork that comes into a Kickstarter. I hope you'll find some time to give this some support and spread the word, and we really appreciate you taking a minute to look at this. Thanks.
Okay. Now, when you filmed this was back when COVID was still a thing because you had long hair.
Yeah.
You didn't have your hair cut yet.
Yeah. Sitting in this very spot, COVID hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to say nothing. I wanted to let it finish it.
Oh, much better now.
Yeah. What would you say the age group is for? Age readership, 13 and up, maybe?
Yeah. Even maybe a little bit younger. But it's appropriate. However, interest wise, I would say about 13 and up, maybe 12.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's go ahead and go down this thing here a little bit. I got the OGN version, the $40.
Yeah, that's the one I want.
Yeah, I want to say former baseball hero, now a divorced dad to a precocious teen. You know, I mean, Jaime looks a little bit young to be a dad to a teen, but you know, but then again, sometimes people age different. So
Yeah, I'll say he started young. And there's that great Gabriel Hardiman piece right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh geez, how much is that guy using filters on that?
I think it's cool how he made his the logo glow.
Yeah,
I thought that was very clever.
yeah. Well, it's not, I mean, it's not filters. I'm trying to think of what it is. The different graphics for the different dot matrix on the cake. That's what I was getting at.
Oh, okay.
It used to be that we did it all with, the actual acetate.
Zipatone.
Yeah, and that's what I always think of as Zipatone. But no, we don't do that anymore. We do it all on computer now. And I can't. Yeah. Whereas I would do it on Zipatone myself.
Yeah, I've gone down that road before.
I'm old school. I'm sorry. I like this artwork too.
Yeah, Rebecca Isaacs.
Oh, I wondered who had done that one. I like that one.
Yeah, I do too. It's one of them. It features his daughter.
Yeah. Where's her signature on that?
I can't see it.
No, I don't see it anywhere.
I forget to sign all my stuff too. I don't think I've remembered once.
But yeah, I love the logo for the title logo. Did you design that or did someone else?
I did not design it, and I can't remember. Forgive me, the person that did, but I remember when we were sent the samples to look at the various options, how impressed I was, how well it looked, and how it was kind of sometimes hard to decide. And then thirdly, again, being so glad when there's professional people involved, doing their work, that it really, we tend to think, oh, I can letter comics. I can come up with my own logo. It's like, no, I can't. That is a craft.
Pop Culture asks, what is the size of the lobby cards? I'm not sure if that's something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that the Dusk lobby cards?
Yeah, I'm not sure what size those are.
Let's see. Where's that at? I'm trying to find it.
Keep going. Do.
Okay, those.
There they are.
Yeah, I found them. Well.
Seems like we should have that on there if it's not on there.
Yeah.
Make a note.
Yeah. If they're lobby cards.
Siri, how big is your average lobby card? I don't have Siri. I was just being silly.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. I'm just wondering because is it a trading card or is it a lobby card?
It says lobby card.
Yeah, because I think a lobby card is bigger than the
I
trading.
picture it being more like a 8x10 kind of thing. Maybe
That's
a little bit
what I was
smaller.
thinking, yeah. Something close to letter size.
Yeah. Definitely not a trading card.
Well, I would say they're either 8x10 or 11x14.
Oh, 11x14s. Rockefeller over here putting out 11x14s.
Yeah, well, a lobby card is similar to a poster, and they're usually 11x14 or they're 8x10. So it could be either one, and that because they're like mini film posters. That's why I was like, that's why I asked, is it really a lobby card, or is it? If they call it lobby card, meant trading card, because that does make a difference. But for $30 for 8 basically posters, that's a damn good deal.
That's a good
Yeah.
I'm going on this.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, you better check in with.
Yeah, you get some details figured out here.
Alex on that one.
Yeah. Put me on the comp list.
Yeah. That's the best I can tell you on that. It's probably 8x10 to 11x14, assuming that is what they are supposed to be as large. So, well, that's a good question. Thanks again, pop culture. Let's see. Yep, everything looks sharp on it as always. I mean, PCA. Do I ever bring anybody on my show that doesn't have stuff that looks sharp? Watch, sooner or later I'll screw up. But I mean, let me see this a little bit closer if I can get it to come in a little bit closer here. No, it won't. Okay, I just wanted to see if it would or not. All right. Let's see. That is like all the different covers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am more of the person who just tends to get like the book and not all the extras as a rule, unless there's something I really want out of the extras. Like I like the logo for the shirt, but if it had been the cover with him on it, I would have bought the shirt.
Right.
Because I always want a T-shirt, but it's got to be the right thing.
No, I get it.
But if it had been all the cover, I would have definitely gotten the shirt with it. Wow, you can get the cards and the book for $60. That's not bad. Then you get the A editions. Okay, that's awesome.
And we got the original art on here too.
Yeah. So you do this on actual boards. You're not doing digital.
In this case, I'm doing this on actual boards, although I have embellished some things digitally. So the actual finished, the actual original boards might have a few little tiny differences, particularly with some of that feathering. Some of that feathering in there I did digitally, so it does not appear that crisp or in certain places on the original art.
Okay.
Hey, it still looks good. It'll still look good. The person's still going to get some good original art.
Oh yeah, they are. That's cool. I mean, at least you have original art. I mean, these days, everybody does their stuff digitally, and it's like, why do you do that?
I've been working mostly digitally lately, simply because it saves space, and I don't have to get upset over using whiteout and that kind of stuff. Everything is clean. It's nice and crisp and black and white, and it saves time in scanning. However, like a lot of artists, it's cyclical for me, and then I swing back to wanting to do stuff traditionally. Mm-hmm. So lately I've been getting more into experimenting, I should pull out the old brushes and inks and that kind of stuff. And so I've been more excited about, even though sometimes it takes longer, I've been more excited about doing the traditional drawing. Mm-hmm. And so it really depends on the deadline and the job and the mood. But in this case, I really wanted to start working traditionally again, at least, a hybrid where I'm mostly, 80%, 90% traditional, 10% digital, doing fixes and that kind of thing.
And you, Ben, how do you work? Digital, traditional mix?
Oh, me, I am all digital. Have been for a long time.
Okay. I am about 80% traditional, 20% digital. And that's mostly due to the fact that I've got a lot of older technology. I just don't have the top-notch level stuff. And maybe if I had the more up-to-date tech and was familiarized with it more, I would be more digital centric. But when you're using a 10-year-old Syntec, not even a Syntec, but digital pen, and not even a screen type, but where you have to look at the screen and down and up and.
Oh yeah.
It's just not. I need to get the actual thing where I can draw on the screen and stuff and see if that changes my attitude more. It probably will.
Well, as an FYI, the drawing program I use is about 20 years old.
Interesting.
And I think my computer is, I want to say, in the ballpark of 15.
Wow.
Not this laptop, but the one I do most of my drawing on.
Okay. Red Hook looks like Kirby art.
Is that the Dean Haspiel piece? Because I think that is on purpose. Because I tend to think Dean stuff looks. Is it that one right there? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Kirby influence. Yeah.
Yeah. It does have a Kirby-ish look. Definitely. Yeah. The way he does the musculature there and ripples there. That's kind of a Kirby-ish look. That's Dean. Yeah, he also has a little bit of a root in there.
Definitely.
Especially with the way he's doing the kind of grainy inks on the edges.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then that one already sold, whatever that.
Yeah. And Jamal's.
Well, that's Jamal Eigels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he went nuts on that, and even put the logo and the little neon sign at the top there.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Okay. And of course, Gabriel's sold. It's obvious.
Howard Chaykin
Okay.
sold. Nice.
Yeah. Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. I mean, Ominous is publishing it, but you're like a separate group doing
Right. Correct. Yeah, we shopped it around and then took it to Ominous and then realized that doing it via a Kickstarter was the best way to try to raise funds for it. And hopefully we will.
Okay.
Still got less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, you're doing okay. I mean, you're over 75% of the way there.
Are we? Let me see. I think we're like about, is my math really that bad? Okay, we're almost at 30 and it's 39. Okay, yes. Yay.
Yeah. Well, it just said, all I know is at the end of the video, it said you're at 75% of your goal.
Oh, okay.
That's all I know.
All right, I'll take the Kickstarter word for it then.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, another 2 weeks, and keep promoting it, which I will do on the show.
Thank you.
I might even do something interesting, and that is
interesting.
Yeah, I might decide to do something else and throw something your way to add into the package.
Oh.
I might. I don't know. I have to check my schedule to see what I can
do. Okay. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Plus, I'd have to get see what Alex and Liz think too.
All right.
But we'll see. Because 2 weeks, I should be able to do something in 2 weeks. But that would be interesting to play with because I haven't. Well, let me show you. You haven't seen my work. This is a poster I did for Mark Andrew Smith's.
Oh, that's cool.
Awesome. Martian Jones character from Gladstone School for World Conquerors.
Oh, that is neat.
Cool.
So
that's cool.
Yeah, that was like
nice.
The more recent things I've done. So yeah, so I could probably come up with something.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, but it just depends what all we can do here. But let's see. I'm trying to find the. Okay, that's that. All right. Cool. Alrighty then, we're looking at 13 more days to go, and you got. I kind of wonder about these things because I see so many people get high numbers, but they set a low goal. You know what I'm saying? Like a $5,000, like they said, like a $5,000 or $10,000 goal, and then they get 30, 40, 50,000 pledges. But then when they set something like what you've set for the Dusk, which is a 39.5, you're halfway through your campaign, and you're doing well. I mean, like I said, you're at 75%. But at the same time, it's always that weird waiting game, I guess is the word for it,
Oh yeah, no, I'd really, it's a nail biter. Our first Impossible Jones Kickstarter was a nail biter, and everyone says, no, it'll be fine. But no, you want it to be funded. Obviously, you want it to be funded as early as possible, but I can't help but still, I don't take anything for granted at this point.
No.
75% in 2 weeks sounds good, but I'm not. I'll wait till it's funded, approved, and the credit cards have cleared. We don't. You don't want to get stuck with people it being a thin margin, and then people backing out, or people throwing their funding in, thinking, "Oh, it's doing fine," then backing out.
Yeah.
So I wait till the horse crosses the finish line.
I was shocked when Aaron LaPresti's Garbage Man didn't even get half of its funding.
Really?
I was like, what the heck happened? And, well, part of it was, Aaron goes, well, I didn't really market it well enough. And I said, well, was it that, or was it because it was kind of a reprint of what he'd already done at DC? Only he took out the Batman and because they couldn't use a DC character, they changed one of his own characters. And so it was just like, it was kind of weird that people didn't get it. I was just like, okay. But one of our regulars is here a little bit later than usual. John Norris.
Hi, John.
Hey, John, did you get Impossible Jones? Let me know.
Putting on the spot.
I think he did. I just want to make sure if he did that he knows to get the next one.
It's taken him a while. That means he didn't. He's gonna tell us why. What's your excuse? No, I'm joking.
I can't remember. No, he didn't. Okay.
That's all right.
Yeah. All right. No, he responded fast enough. I was just reopening the page and didn't
okay.
Yeah. That was on me, Dave.
Okay.
I just couldn't remember if he had gotten it or not, but because I remember he talked about it, but sometimes life gets in the way because he's got it's not too personal. He's got dental surgery he's got to get done. He's saving money for that right now. That's probably why.
Fair enough.
But so okay. But alrighty then, let's go ahead and move on to our next one, and let's get Ben in here.
Yeah, let's get to the good stuff.
I don't know about that.
But I gotta close that one down. There we go. You silly computer. Open. Thank you. We're going to talk about a number of things with
there he is.
Twilight. I don't know if you had a particular name for this. I just said creator publisher Benjamin Morse. Was there a brand?
That describes me pretty well. I guess creator writer. This is my first Kickstarter, so I don't know if I call myself a publisher as such. Well, but I just wanted to kind of, I guess nobody else is publishing it, so it might be me.
Okay. Pulp superhero action adventures, what I called it. The year 1938, the city of New York is gripped in terror as the heroic Captain Lancet hunts the Scarlet Twilight cult in Manhattan as police are unable to stop the mass kidnappings by the cult, and the bodies of the victims are found drained of their blood. What is the intent of this evil cult, and can Captain Lancet find a means to bring an end to their activities? After reviewing what you sent me, and he sent me the whole miniseries, actually, I say 14 and up. Is that fair?
Yeah. Actually, I think because I've just done a few, about half of issue 1 for Scarlet Twilight, and I sent you my other book.
That was good. Yeah,
that's the whole thing. And yeah, 14 up is about it. I would say for both of them.
Okay.
There's Scarlet Twilight has, I don't want to give away too much, but it's got some surprises that I would like in the jump scares in horror movies, which are a little graphic, and I've described them as being kind of in line with the first Mortal Kombat game for some brief moments where I show some stuff happening. I don't get too into it, but it's part of some of the surprises in the book. There are a few of them in issue 1, and I'd say 14 and up is about where it ought to be.
Okay, that's cool. John was saying his insurance, he needs to get his insurance pre-authorized.
Yeah, so that.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's a rather testy thing. You sent me several pages. I put 3 of them side by side in this.
Those are good ones.
And this is where Captain Lancet confronts an evil. I guess you could say the evil doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Occulto is his name. He's kind of your beginning of a James Bond movie adventure. So he's that guy. He's a minion of the big bad of the series, whose name is Madame Satanica.
Yeah.
And this is their first. He's been kind of getting a line on these people for reasons we find out, and this is him kind of getting the drop on him.
Yeah. And you do all digital here.
Yeah. I've so when I first got out of college, I worked at an illustration, small illustration agency, and I learned. I mean, I can't even describe how much from the guys working there who had been working since the 70s and 80s. And we do a lot of technical stuff. Like instructional sheets you'd see for a faucet or a propane heater. Mm-hmm. And I got really good at Illustrator and vector stuff. So that's just kind of all, that's sort of how my career pushed me. And in talking with the guys there was so much work and so much, traditional work to be done in the 80s and 90s that you could have a lot of people that were maybe, I don't want to say mediocre, but not necessarily great. And there'd be work for you. Whereas by the time I got out there, it was like you had to be good and fast. And I'd talk to my boss, who was in his 60s at the time, and he'd draw these beautiful lines, much like David does, I think, from looking at his work. And I'd say, Jerry, how do you get that so perfect? He was drawing a jet for a children's book. So he had this long, beautiful pen stroke, perfect thin, thick lines, perfect curve, everything. I said, well, I practiced about 20 minutes a day for 40 years or so. And I'd say 5 years ago, it kind of started to click. And I thought, I will probably not be employable for those 40 years while I wait for it to click. So, things change in the way they do. So that's kind of just the way I developed and got comfortable with it. I actually draw with a mouse.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna go away now.
Always one of you maniacs out there. Drawing with a mouse. Yeah, I guess we're out there. In fact, I had to get a new mouse lately, and it's really thrown me off my game a little bit. But it's just what I got comfortable doing, and that's I do like doing. I do figure drawing traditional, and always have had. I don't ever see myself abandoning that. And we actually just moved a few months ago from an apartment in Brooklyn. Now that we have more space, I've been kind of getting an itch to do more traditional stuff now that I have somewhere to put all of it. But yeah, all digital.
So you said you worked on 20-year-old software.
Yeah.
What are you using?
It's an old program we bought. Actually, when I still worked for this place, an older illustrator who worked there found this program called Expressions he bought. And they got copies for the whole studio. Okay. I think we bought it there's a demo version that was out at the time for PC. And then we bought the versions for Mac, so I still have those and still use them. And I think shortly after that, I want to say Microsoft bought the software to use as a program that was going to compete with Flash. back when it was with Macromedia, back when Flash was still Flash. This goes back a ways. And they just, you never saw it again. I think they actually did bring it back kind of as an animation program, but it was very different.
Okay.
But the long and short of it is it has great brushstrokes. The real game changer for me was a B-spling tool, so you can get perfect lines and just average things out. So it's a little bit like working in Illustrator, but a little more suited to drawing. And that's one of the things that I just started using when I was younger, and it became my go-to. So that's how it developed.
Okay. Yeah. See, I mean, I do use 20-year-old software myself, Photoshop 5.
I was on Photoshop CS until a little while ago, actually. So,
well, Photoshop
I'm right there with you.
It's all the way back from like 97. So it's like 23 years old, and but it's like I tried to do other stuff, and it's like no, like my original computer, which is not the one I'm using right now, but I have two computers. One that has all my old hard stuff for years and years, and then the one I do my podcast on. And that one will not run anything past Photoshop 5. Period.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, okay. So I just run Photoshop 5 on both so that they're still compatible. And as long as it works, and as long as other people can read the files, it doesn't matter. That's the main thing. But, yeah, let's go ahead and take another quick look here. Whoops. I want to. Okay. We'll take a look at that in a minute. All right. We're going to go ahead and cut to your actual page.
Cool.
For your Kickstarter.
Yeah, I'm backing you right now.
Oh, and thanks, Dave.
Yeah, definitely.
And, okay. Yep. 2 people just did.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I haven't entered my credit card number yet, but you'll see that number pop up in a minute.
I appreciate it.
Oh, looks fantastic.
Very quiet.
Pretty loud music.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my trailer. I just kind of patterned that after the old Flash Gordon trailer from the 30s, when they were taking that and saying, "Hey, it's from the Flash Gordon comic. You get to see it brought to life," and it was a lot of fun to kind of remix some of those elements.
Yeah. Again, it's 30s, 40s pulp adventure, modernized, so to speak. We Are Scarlet Twilight. I mean, that's the cult, basically.
Yeah, the idea. There's a few other reasons I picked that particular name. You probably will get about 10 pages in.
Yeah.
But the main idea behind the style of it is I did want to do kind of a pulp remix. There's so much cool stuff in those old comics, both the artwork and the costumes, but also I think just the design and the way they'd structure pages where they cut out parts and just say Batman examine the room. They don't show Batman going through the whole room. And they do it in ways that have like cool 30 fonts or drop out circles and panels and things like that. So I wanted to do all that stuff, but I didn't want it to be just kind of a recreation, but drawn, taking a little more time than those guys had to draw it. And We Are Scarlet. There's a lot of books now that I feel like have that phrase title that I think it's cool. And I thought it was also a good way to say, yeah, this is pulp stuff, but it's also has some modern things about it. So I hope it does that.
I'm looking. I got both the copies of the regular and the variant cover.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Well, what's probably going to happen is when I get one of them, I'm probably going to give one of them away as a gift on the show.
Oh, cool.
Probably the variant, to be honest, but we'll see. That's what I tend to do with a lot of these, as people know. Sometimes I'll even buy like 5 and 6 copies of a book and give them away as prizes on the show. Can't always do that, but when I can, I afford it, I do it. Again, now, of course, we showed this art without the words. Now they get to see the dialogue.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to put together. Just kind of especially the first part, I think, is very pulp influenced. It's not corny in I want to say like, Super Friends kind of way, but it is very much of that period. And one of the things I found in doing this, it was really fun, is it was a cool chance to take, maybe some of the more simple layouts that you might see in older comics and then go to something that's more modern. And it is like sort of cutting from an old serial style shots to something that's you might see in like a Zack Snyder slow motion shot. Was a really fun thing for me to play around with. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this is take that stuff and see what impact I could get out of it.
Now, one thing I have noticed is that you pretty much only have the two covers.
Yeah.
Is that just because you haven't had a chance to think of other add-ons or anything like that?
Yeah, well, this is my first Kickstarter, and I did sort of want to approach it like, what can I do myself?
Right.
I have an opportunity here that I kind of do all this, the design, the lettering, and the writing myself, and the art, of course. And I thought, well, I could probably keep this a one-man show, and I wanted to keep it simple. So I priced things as low as I could with some safety in there if shipping goes up or if things are more than I expected. And my goal here was initially, I just wanted to build an audience and get my story out there and see where it goes. That's, without losing, I hope the next time you have me on, I'm not coming to you from a cardboard box or something. But yeah, I basically priced it so that, I would have a tiny bit in there for safety or make a tiny bit, but mainly it could scale up. If it only had a few backers, it works. If it had a lot more, and the response has been really overwhelming, it's more than I could agree.
Very well.
That's cool.
I mean, you're at 629 backers, a little over 6,650. Again, you weren't looking for a huge amount. You asked for a 1,500 goal, but I mean, this could easily get a 10,000 pledge.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, and I just, like I said, I wanted to keep it so that it could scale, not knowing what kind of response I'd get. And as far as stretch goals go, I was a little caught flat-footed by how quickly we met the goal and how quickly it's risen. My plan was that the stretch goals were probably going to all be digital, thinking I wouldn't have this kind of response. If I get to a certain number, because I'm doing this print on demand just so it can scale up, I think I can get some more pages in the book, which would be great because there's a couple of origin stories for Captain Lancet, the main character, and the villainess that didn't fit in 1 through 4 as far as the page layouts. But I'd love to do a sort of, like the Batman origin, when they threw that in there a few issues in, or who was the Batman and how he came to be. I've got some of those written out for those two characters, and one of them from another character fits within the beginning of issue 2. The ones for the villainous and Captain Lancet didn't have a home in issues 1 through 4, so it would be great to throw those in. And I'm doing a little bit of quick on-the-fly research on what it'll take to get the volume so that I can throw in those pages without pushing myself into the red, basically. So
it's fair.
Again, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
What about your if I may, because your setting is in the 1930s, is that an era that you've been interested in drawing, or just an era that you thought would be interesting for your setting, for your story? I mean, like, are you Do you get excited about drawing the environments from that era and the clothing? Yeah.
Definitely the visuals came first. And I've kind of had, I wouldn't say an idea for the story for a long time, but I had an idea that I wanted to do something like this that had pulp stuff. And the thing that really got me inspired to start thinking of it was Chip Kidd's work in all those books where he'll, you know, it's not that he'll just reprint old stuff and say, hey, this looks cool. He kind of crops in on certain things that are interesting. So you get little pieces of cool design. You get the grid on the pages sometimes. You get these pictures of old toys or something in the cracks and the aging.
Yeah.
And he focuses in on specific elements and then ties them together. And that is kind of what I wanted to do here. So that was kicking around in my head a long time. I had an idea for, and just like a thing I jotted down of maybe someone in the future, there's vampires that are almost like the dominant life form, and the guy is going around like Van Helsing, and he's almost like a serial killer. I thought, well, that's sort of interesting, I guess. It could work. But I didn't think it had enough. And then a few months ago, I was thinking about it some more, and I had the idea to tie in, you know, Captain Lancett's, look to be a very traditional Golden Age superhero, and I wanted him to be earnestly a good superhero,
right.
and with some secrets to hide. And the thing that really made it click was thinking about I would say the way patriotism and sort of like all-Americanism pops up in those old comics. The thing that maybe made Moses turn into Superman when Siegel and Schuster were putting it together. There's some of like the tension that, you know, you face at that time. So many of our families were coming over. How much do you keep of your own culture? How much do you want to fit in? Is that forced upon you? Is it something you want and gravitate towards? And Captain Lancett doesn't really have, he has his viewpoint on that. It's not necessarily a commentary on that idea, but he is kind of a personification of that idea. He's another person. He came here, and he's kind of like, I say, a manifestation of that. Again, that thing that turned Moses into Superman, and we kind of put the stars and stripes on things, and they are their own thing.
Yeah,
so he's kind of that. And I thought once that came together with the idea of the future, in the future, and this is still very Batman the Animated Series, Art Deco. Once they get there, it's still going to look like that. And that's one of the reasons I kind of went and put a few more preview pages into Kickstarter, because I didn't want people to think it was going to be, you know, I love Star Trek 4, but I kind of love the beginning and the end. I don't like the middle where they're in the 1980s. So it's not going to be like that. It's definitely going to look 1930s Art Deco the whole time. And once all those elements came together, I thought, yeah, there's enough of a story that it's not just me having fun drawing old buildings and old costumes and things like that.
Okay.
Cool.
That's cool.
He actually does have an add-on. And that
Yes.
is
The apron.
The apron, yeah.
Which
Somebody got the apron. I think a few people have.
Yeah, and I was thought that was different.
Well, I wanted to be a little different. I wanted to keep it simple, and I've seen a lot of different weird things out there, and I thought I got a good idea. Apron.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, if I actually, I almost should get one and say, okay, now you can actually do something on the grill, Dad. You're gonna be Captain Lancett. He'd probably throw it at me. I was telling David before the show, I'm always the one who cooks everything. So, but it gets tiresome. But that is something that you could at least have that. But yeah, but I don't know. It's interesting. Like you say, it grew so fast that you almost don't have time to react to add on stuff, basically.
Yeah, and that's what I've said to a few people who've been really patient as far as asking questions and me getting back to them and say, well, my initial plan here was I did not think I'd have nearly as many backers, and the way people have, obviously backed it, but just liked or shared it on Twitter or commented has been, I don't have the words. It's been huge, and I'm incredibly overwhelmed. And so when I look at what I thought we'd be at, I was like, well, we'll do some digital, and I still want to do a lot of digital things here. as add-ons and stretch goals. But I think that there is an opportunity now. I might be able to get to where if I can get enough backers on the printed versions, I can throw some extra stuff in there. And again, my goal here with this Kickstarter aspect of it was to just see what I could do myself, keep it simple, and when people had questions, just be as responsive as I could to them. I'm looking at some questions on international shipping and shipping to Canada as well, which I did kind of expect. Some of the places I wasn't quite sure would get specific requests for, and I'm looking into that. I'm hoping I can find a place to print them overseas, and then the shipping won't be as much, because I'm really conscious of just the shipping and the printing when you're doing it yourself. It's a lot to ask people to spend, especially when you can go to the comic store and get even Batman comics costing $6 in some cases now.
Yeah.
There's really not much fat on what I'm doing at all. I just, again, wanted to build a readership. But even with that, I have to keep in mind, this is a lot to ask somebody for their support. So I'm looking at some ways to keep those costs down as much as I can. There have been a few people asking about retailer tiers where they get a few, which was a surprising question I hadn't thought about, and I'm looking into that as well. So been a few surprises, and doing my best.
If you do a retailer tier, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because that's what I do is I buy a retailer tier of 5 or 10 copies, and then I give those away.
Oh, cool.
Or I take them to my own local retailer and say, here you go. So, and they just look at me like, what? Where'd these come from? Because you're too lazy to go look online. I brought them for you. Yeah, but because, I don't know if you're familiar with Alterna Comics at all.
I've heard of them.
Yeah.
They used to be through Diamond, but now they do their own distribution online. They're the ones that did the newsprint for $1 comics.
Okay.
And they did okay through Diamond, but for whatever reason, it wasn't working out. And Peter Cimetti, the runner of that company, decided to do his own distribution. And now you have to go to his website, alterna.com, and order it and do. And I was getting like 6 books from them. And my retailer's like, well, I can't get them anymore because they don't come through Diamond. I'm like, really, dude? Is it really that much of a pain for you to open an account for the 82 books that you order from him every month? Okay. I'll grant you're not making much money on them. At $1 a book, there's literally no money in it. But again, like I was telling you before the show, part of the reason they're not making money on those books is because they're promoting Batman. And if they promote the other comics, what happens? They don't get as many Batman sales because there's only so much, or X-Men sales or Spider-Man sales or whatever it is. And that's the dichotomy of the situation with comic book shops, I think. The problem more so than a lack of willingness, but I don't know. But anyway, we're sitting here on you got 629 backers.
I think more than that, because my email says I'm 636. So
it does tell you.
Yeah.
Stuff I backed, I don't think it's told me the number, but I get my emails on my own computer I was talking about before, so I think it takes a while to load the HTML stuff sometimes. So.
I just refreshed it. It still says 629, but that doesn't mean anything. It just could be my computer being silly. But cool. If you're backer 636, like I said, it's up there.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Digital prints, and maybe you should do a print for it. Get some posters.
Yeah, I'm looking into that, and I think that would be something that I probably could, especially when it's a single comic, put in with the combine the shipping and hopefully make that work out. Because, like I said, it's to pledge even for a single comic. It's with the shipping when you throw it in. It's a lot to ask people to spend, and I'm really cognizant of that. So, I'm looking for ways to get stuff that won't add a lot of weight, and I'm doing some research there on how it could work out. And then obviously there's some digital. I think the commentary thing, I'm probably going to do just a design booklet, more or less. That I would call a director's cut, but definitely want to do add some stuff like that. And I think that when you get into some of the ways the story goes by the end of the first issue, that'll I hope there's enough stuff that people are interested in how it came about. So definitely keen to do that.
We can certainly talk about that more off camera and keep throw some ideas at you.
I've got a lot of good suggestions from people posting on Kickstarter as well that I'm looking into, and really excited about all of them.
Cool. It doesn't matter what you got, money and time, basically.
Yeah, the main thing for me right now, at least on this one, is what can I get to people that's cool but won't bump up shipping. I do not want to ask people to spend more money. That's the generosity that people have shown in backing this already has been so huge, and I'm really keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, makes sense. All righty then. So we got a little more stuff of Ben's to show. Let's see if we can get that shown real quick here. He mentioned that he is doing another book called August.
Yep.
And that is August Purgatory Underground.
There's my boy.
Yeah.
And it is a science fiction space western. Coming soon from Action Lab Entertainment. Is that correct?
Yep. That is, yeah.
And Captain Abraham August is an outcast, an unwanted hero of an ugly war that has just ended. Assigned to a classified mission to a backwater world where officials hope he will just be forgotten about, August finds himself embroiled in intrigue as he discovers that it's not a small band of rebels bothering the planet, but the enemy that they thought they just defeated has taken a hold of the planet, and it's him and the little resources of the locals that have to try to stop an armada that could change the whole course of the war. And there's no doubt that there's something more behind this, and August has to discover what.
I think you've rewritten that very well, actually. I think you condensed it better than I ever have been able to.
Recommended for ages 13 and up.
I would say so, yeah.
And I gave a 4 out of 5 star rating out of, because you sent me the whole series.
Yeah.
I read the whole thing, and I give it 4 out of 5.
Thank you.
And let's take a look at some of the artwork for that. That is the enemy.
That's him. Yep. It's not much of a spoiler. In the first few pages, it's a surprise to August that he's still around. But I think in the first 4 or 5 pages of the book, you're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that dude's coming back. So not too much of a spoiler.
Right. And then this is an alternate cover, I believe.
Yeah. Nice toy box.
This was a piece I did when this was pretty early on. I think I did this a few years ago because there's mention of some characters that did not make the final cut. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as I was kind of coming up with the things that made this story, because this was gestating for a long time, since about 2011 or 2012. And a lot of different things came along, and I'd throw that into the mix, and it was cool. But this is when a lot of it started to click for me, because I use a lot of the imagery from old 80s cartoons, and the whole thing is meant to be kind of like an 80s cartoon that you then come back to in a few years. And it's evolved as well, and it's a little more, I wouldn't call it adult. It's probably PG-13, like you said, but it's a different look at things and a little more of a reflection on, wow, a lot happens in those cartoons. A lot of big things happen, and it's fun to maybe extrapolate that out and see some of the results. So seeing it, doing some fun artwork like this that really calls back to that stuff, in addition to just being fun and cool to do, it was a good way for me to get a handle on the story.
Well, now, part of the reason August is an unwanted hero is because apparently Karak, which is the guy in the green, who's the bad guy, had a major bomb that they were going to send to Earth, and he somehow made it come back to basically destroy Mars.
He turns it around, yeah. So essentially, there's a super weapon. I kind of ripped this off from Moonraker, the novel. Yeah. But the bad guy, Hugo Drax, is going to launch missiles from a submarine James Bond can't stop them, but he turns them around so it goes back to the submarine.
Right.
August does that essentially, but it turns out this weapon being experimental is much more powerful than anybody knew about. It ends up destroying a whole planet. That was kind of a battleground. It wasn't, necessarily like, Earth was destroyed, but people, obviously it's a huge event. People have a lot of trouble wrapping their heads around it. And it was the reason I put that in, the thing that gave me the idea was the Doctor Who revival with Christopher Eccleston. He had part of the backstory that they just tell you about is that he had destroyed his home planet. And there was just a lot of stuff there. I thought, well, that's cool. So I kind of copied that in a sense. And I also,
see influenced.
Well, I'll say borrowed something.
Yeah.
But the big thing there, in that show, they handled it and the people were mostly just sorry for him. And I thought, well, that's cool. But I think in reality, people would be, a little upset. And I remembered a conversation I'd had with my grandfather when I was probably in the 4th grade or so. I was writing a report on World War II because we had gotten to that point in history. And our teacher said, you have to go and talk to a relative that remembers that was around during the war and ask them about these things. Growing up in the 80s, I was just terrified of nuclear weapons. I thought, oh, they're going to definitely wipe us all out before I'm 10. It was just an existential threat. And it was kind of the boogeyman under the bed or something for somebody my age. And so my feelings were like, boy, I wish they had used the atomic bomb. We wouldn't have to worry about that, which of course would have still been around. Anyway, I'd mentioned that to my grandfather when I was asking him what it was like when that actually happened. He was in the service. He said, well, for us, we were going to have to go over to Japan. It was going to be terrible. So it was, so many people were obviously hurt. He didn't get into and I don't know if anybody could have the perspective that was from then to say this was right or wrong. And I think we do that now, and it's good that we do think about it that way. But from his perspective at the time, he was just like, we don't have to go fight anymore. It's over. And what struck me was the difference between how we looked at it. Obviously, I was just a kid, so my viewpoint was very much just of that, what a child thinks about things and what they hear from other people. In the 80s, people protesting against nuclear weapons. You have the sense that it's bad, even if you don't have the opinion on your own. And my grandfather's opinion was so different. And I thought, wow, the time and the distance between those two opinions that make a lot of sense always stuck with me. So that's what I made, August's problem. He's like, at the time, for a month or two, everybody was like, we are so glad this war is going to be over. As rebuilding started, people feel the way people in the South feel about General Sherman. Even in the 90s X-Men cartoon wrote a joke about General Sherman being hated in the South. So it lingers. And I kind of took that, the way those feelings are, condensed it, and put August in that spot. And I thought, well, that's a good way for him to be, because he's not a real animated person. He's somebody more in the 60s mold. He doesn't talk too much. He's a little more like Steve McQueen or a really embittered Luke Skywalker.
Thank you. I'm looking at this character design and I'm thinking, this is a redheaded Luke Skywalker.
In a lot of ways, yeah. Yeah. Another thing I should mention, when I was talking about things I, got in my head as far as making that part of his backstory is I think I'd seen a meme or something probably 10 years ago of a little Lego Stormtrooper Star Wars guy and a 6-inch figure of Luke, and the little Lego guy is saying, my dad was on the Death Star, and it's funny.
Yeah.
But you also think like, boy, you watch those movies, you never think about it. Not that I'm saying the Empire was right, although I think people on the internet now do. It's just an interesting way to be like, it wouldn't just be over. Nothing ever is.
Right.
And so it's a good problem to give this guy, I thought.
And then there's another fight scene between him and Karak.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like,
he doesn't do too well in this one, as I think you can see.
Yeah. Well, at this point, he's not realizing that Karak is like mostly machine.
Yeah.
And stuff at that point. He's just thinking he's fighting another person. Whereas he's more like a Terminator. He's fighting,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's one of I based that guy on, in a huge measure on Arnold Schwarzenegger in the sense that he is like not specifically on him, but the 80s action guy, the guy in the Contra box looks kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that's, I'd say the guy in the Contra box from the NES game is kind of who he is.
Yeah. But I did enjoy reading the whole thing, though.
Thanks.
It's cool.
So.
And then this is the Terminus Angel that you said that was something you're still in development.
Yeah. I haven't even really, I did pitch a version of it years ago and got nothing back but crickets. But this is August, probably 50, 60 years later. Obviously, things don't go too well for him and the galaxy at large. Kind of a Walking Dead in space scenario, post-apocalyptic thing. And
now, when I hear this, I was like, I'm looking at this, and I was like, is this an older Mark Hamill, or is this like a Charles Bronson type look?
It's all of them. I mean, it's him older, and I do, I just wanted to look a little, obviously older, but been around, and not necessarily, I want to say this, not necessarily beaten up by age or circumstances. He's, clearly not in the best of spots. He's not living in the Ritz or anything, but he's kind of a trooper. So I want to show the contrast between him, who, he's really learned to live with a lot of bad things at this point, and the other people he runs into, and there aren't many people left at this point, are at a different spot. So hopefully that'll be interesting as it takes shape. These are kind of some research pages I did, really influenced by Ridley Scott's Alien and Blade Runner, the way the lighting is and all that. So was kind of working out to see some visuals that would work. And just that's definitely, if Purgatory Underground, the first August book, does well, hopefully there'll be a lot more of that, and that'll be the next one I do.
Now, of
kind
course,
of the end of his life.
As we were talking about that situation, you're still on kind of a wait and see as to when that's going to be solicited through Action Lab, because of the
I've been checking in with them pretty consistently through the year. It's all done, obviously, since last year. So we're just waiting for the best time to, first of all, get back from COVID. Second of all, I think deal with all the aftershocks of all the distribution changes that have been occurring as well. So I just wanted to, as I talked with them, it was like, do we just throw it up on Comicology? Do we do this? And I thought, let's do it when it makes the most sense to do it, when it has the best chance to get out there, because I have a lot more August stories plotted out and ready to go. So I really want this to do well, so I can do it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I haven't talked with Action Lab in ages, so I really don't know. I don't even know who's running Action Lab right now. It's been a long time. There's a way of doing things where you can do things on Comixology and then go to print.
Yeah, I think so.
But, it's a matter of how you want to market it. Because do you want to use to me, I would see you use it as a Comixology as a marketing tool to try and get people interested and push it towards the print side. But you don't want to release it until you know when you're going to solicit your book.
Yeah. And you also don't want comic shop owners to think, oh, this guy, we're just, everybody who wants this already got it online.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm going to take a chance on it. Because people, it's a big chance to take. I'm some guy off the street. Nobody knows who I am. It's a new series, a new character.
Exactly.
Again, it's a lot to ask. That's a big risk to take. So, and one of the reasons I'm really happy to work with Action Lab is, I want to take advantage of their experience with this stuff, marketing books, getting them out there, and just see what the best way to do it is.
Yep, makes sense. Well, like I said, that's why they said pardon me. That's why they're probably asking you whether or not you want to do it on the Comixology, because they're probably thinking about trying to build the brand through it first, and I know where they're coming from. I just, like I say, I don't know. We got to come wait and see what happens with these aftershocks with the distribution.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, you just want to, like I said, we want to make sure it has the best chance to succeed, because I want to do a lot more of it.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time, for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We got you guys
For having me on.
some backers and got you some more money. That's what matters. It might be only a few, but it's something, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, thank you.
I know there's gonna be a few more people that are gonna watch later that'll pick up the Dusk and We Are Twilight a little bit later. I tend to get 3 to 5 who watch live, and then another 5 to 20 who watch after. So, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen.
Cool.
But I'll call that a night. And but we'll definitely keep in touch. And I gotta write some of this stuff down before I forget. Okay. I'll have to email you on that stuff later. Because I was thinking, like I said, I've probably got room in my schedule to do something for both of you.
Thank you.
Projects. It's just a matter of figuring it all out and what's workable, you know.
Yeah.
Because my feeling is, being old school, I'm not against crowdfunding. If I was, I wouldn't have you guys on. A lot of people say I'm anti-crowdfunding because I don't do it myself. The reason I don't do crowdfunding myself is because I'm still of that old school mentality of what I used to do back in the day. And to me, I like what you're doing, Ben. You don't have any extras per se.
Mm-hmm.
That's because you weren't expecting to need them.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, I want to finish the story and I'm going to, but I just wanted to keep it simple. Make it, I hope, a low barrier for entry to people to see the story. And like, yeah, I'll take a chance on this. It's not that much.
Here's my thing. I would be the type of guy I would say, I can give you 12 issues a year for 30 a year.
Yeah. Okay.
And then whatever the shipping is,
Yeah.
And I would, and a lot of people go, I don't want to do that, but I want a T-shirt and a poster and a trading card set, and and it's like, you don't want to commit to the story, but you want all this extra stuff.
I also didn't want to give anybody the impression I'm like, this guy, he comes out of his first Kickstarter, he's trying to sell a 3-ring circus.
Right.
Why don't you just focus on the book? And I want people to know that I'm focused on the book. That's my main thing.
Exactly. But what I'm saying though is, I've had a lot of people ask me to bring back my old stuff that I did in the 90s. So they know what they want, but they want all this extra stuff, and it's like, guys, commit to the book first.
Yeah.
When I know I got enough people committed to the book, then we'll worry about all this extra. But but that's kind of been my hang up. But we'll see. Alrighty then, gentlemen. I want to thank David Hahn and Benjamin Morse for being my guests this evening. And again, make sure you back the Dusk on Kickstarter. And We Are Scarlet Twilight on Kickstarter. And those links are on the bottom below the screen on the YouTube page. And let me see if I can get those shared again real quick here on the front screen here. There's Benjamin's.
That is it.
And for some reason, I'll get it. I just gotta find it again. There it is. And that is the Dusks.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. And like yours, and now of course now there's like 4 minutes left of.
Oh yeah,
So
time. Yeah, it's.
I'm not going to worry about
Yeah.
Impossible Jones, but you know, I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you guys on the end. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys sign out, and I'm going to do my closing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thanks a lot.
Yep. Thanks a lot.
I leave the studio here.
Yeah. Okay. And with that being said, folks, if you have questions, you want to reach me, you can reach me on Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, Twitter at LewisBrightRave2, DeviantArt.com/BrightRaven, YouTube, Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven, Gmail at Quoth Raven, LBR72@gmail.com, Lewis Bright Raven at yahoo.com. On Mondays, we have comics news and reviews. Wednesdays, what did you get this week? I talk about what books I bought at the comic shop that week or what I got in the mail through crowdfunding or mail order or whatever. Thursdays is our round table talk like we had this evening with guests, and Fridays is our genre night discussion. Tomorrow night, we will be discussing movie night, and I will be discussing Wonder Woman 84, replicas with Keanu Reeves, and Final Voyage. I'll be doing that solo. Sometimes I have guests, sometimes I don't, but I'll probably be working tomorrow nights as a solo show. Saturdays and Sundays is our live draw. And I am working on inking a practice piece, more or less, on Batman and Predator. And that is This Bad Boy by Peter Vale. That's what I'll be doing inks on this weekend. So I want to thank you all again for watching. And we will catch you guys next time. And be sure to check out those Kickstarters again below on the script. Below in the description on the YouTube page. All right. So I'll text you guys next time. Have a good night.